Yep.
Eighth in.
Whoa.
The
Yep.
tie 2-1. They give it Toronto.
Dan.
Remain undefeated Brit.
Hello, curling fans, and welcome back inside the Bell Alliance Center here in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island for home team and the Grand Slams continuing coverage of the HearingLife Tour Challenge Tier 1 event. John Cullen with you again alongside Olympic gold medalist Tyler George for this morning B semifinal matchup between Ross Whyte and Joel Retornaz. And Tyler, you were watching Ross Whyte yesterday morning, about 24 hours ago, and I remember after that game you're remarking, even though they lost, they played really well. What were you seeing out of Team Whyte yesterday?
Yeah, the misses were just small things, and they kind of ran into a buzzsaw with Team Jacobs, especially at the back end with Mark Kennedy and Brad Jacobs making a ton of shots. Ross made a couple of great freezes in key spots that Brad and Mark were able to just pick out, and there wasn't a whole lot more they could do in some of those key spots. But I think they know they have another gear. They probably played maybe their C+, B- game, and in a slam, obviously, that's not always going to get the job done. So just small improvements I think they needed to make, and maybe a couple spots in the ice that they didn't pick up real well. That was on the end sheet on D, where you tend to see that happen more than anywhere else. So we're expecting a lot of shot making both ways. Obviously, two of the top 5 teams in the world for the current rankings, and just another heavyweight battle here at the Slams.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Joel Retornaz ranked number 2 in the world and only a couple ranking points behind world number 1 Bruce Mowat. So no doubt it's going to be a good one today, a battle between number 2 and number 5 in the world. And obviously, curling fans have gotten to know Joel Retornaz a lot better over the last few years. What stands out about their team to you?
Yeah, it's a fascinating team to watch because, I mean, we played in them in the World Championships back in 2010, and they'd been to a few of them, or at least Joel had, before that point, too. So been around a long time, and really in the last 4 or 5 years just became a completely different team. And obviously you see players like Amos Mozaner come on board, Olympic gold medalist in the mixed doubles discipline, and the talent level of his team top to bottom is considerably higher than it was before. But all credit to Joel for really having, you can't even call it a career renaissance because it was kind of an awakening, just becoming one of the top skips on the planet, just really out of nowhere, and has maintained it for a long enough period of time that this is not a flash in the pan. This is a team that's a medal contender at every Worlds and every Olympics that they will play in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, no question about it, and we'll get a chance to meet the teams here before the game starts. Starting with Team Whyte, they're curling out of the National Training Centre in Stirling, Scotland. Skip is Ross Whyte, third is Robin Bryden, second is Duncan McFadgen, and lead is Ewan Kyle. And over on the other side of the sheet, it is the aforementioned Joel Retornaz out of Cembra, Italy. The skip is Joel Retornaz. Third is Amos Mozaner. Second is Sebastiano Armon. And lead, who you will also see hold the broom in the house, is Mattia Giovanella. And another pretty good crowd here this morning in Charlottetown. They've been really supporting this event all week long. And 8:30 a.m. maybe on a Thursday, not going to, people do work, I think, still. But, yeah, definitely a great crowd here this morning to watch some world-class curling and a big game here. This is a win in this B semifinal. Not only gets you into that B final, but also gets you an extra life. If you lose that B final, you drop right to a C final, whereas if you lose this game this morning, you're into the C's, and it's it can be tough seas sometimes when you're trying to find your way through the sea draw. So a huge game for both these teams.
And Joel has had such a wonderful record over the last few years in slams, too. Won a couple in a row, had a winning streak like we haven't seen in quite a while at this high level of competition. And for Ross Whyte, their rise has been over the last few years as well, now getting in the top 5 in the world, Scottish champions. You know, a team that is probably hasn't hit their peak yet either. They're still growing and becoming a better squad. So a lot of youth out there that we expect to see in the mix for quite a while. Joel, obviously, you can call one of the vets in this group, but some young, strong bucks out there with him, and we're going to see some firepower today.
Yeah, Joel, a 4-time slam champion, including a win in the 2023 Masters last year over Ross Whyte. That was White's best finish at a slam, his only final. And Joel, like you said, had that hot run, won the 22 Masters as well as the 23 Tour Challenge National and Masters. So he'll be looking to add another one to his slam trophy case, and Ross Whyte will be looking to add another, or his first slam rather, to his trophy case. And as you said, his first Scottish championship win last year, which caused maybe a little bit of controversy in Scotland since Ross won over James Craik in the final. Bruce Mowat, the incumbent, actually didn't even find his way into the final, but was allowed to represent Scotland at the Worlds. So, you know, for Team Ross Whyte, that puts a little bit of a chip on the shoulder that you want to prove that it wasn't a fluke, and you want to be the team that gets chosen to represent Scotland at those marquee events.
I think it could be argued that no team has ever done more to represent their country in a single season and not been able to do it with what Team Whyte accomplished. But two sides of the coin with that, obviously, you know, the defending world champions being in your country, even if they don't win your championship, it's awfully hard not to consider them your best rep to try to get on top of the podium again the following year. So argument can be made on both sides. Obviously, you sympathize with Ross, but if the opposite ended up happening, you would probably sympathize with Bruce as well.
Yeah, no question about it. So it is Team Whyte starting with the hammer here, and a pretty good start for both leads. Mattia Giovanella putting up the center guard, and Ewan Kyle drawing around it.
Now playing the out-turn draw around center guard that he already put up. Trying to lock onto that stone on the top of the forefoot. Pretty cookie-cutter start. See this a million times over. But once again, John, all the feature games that I've had this week, I think you said the same for the ones that we didn't do together. Center guard to start the game. Nobody going into the top of the forefoot with the first shot. Teams without hammer not fearing first-hand ice and getting right in the mix right out of the gates.
Yeah, I think it's obviously teams knowing that the ice is going to be ready for them in the first end. There isn't a sense that you need to break the ice down at all. I also think, too, Tyler, you know, these teams know now in an 8-end game, you just can't waste an end anymore. You know, it's just, there's too much going on, and the curlers are too good. You can't just take an end off and say, you know what, we don't need this one. So, yeah, if we look across all the sheets right now, every single sheet there was a center guard thrown. So, yeah, these teams absolutely not afraid to mix it up here.
And I think, obviously, that's even more true for the team without hammer, as if you throw in and allow your opponent to trade hits and you both get used to the ice, you've shortened the game to 7 ends already, and you don't have the hammer in the second. So a 7-end game where your opponent has hammer first, and teams of this caliber, I agree 100%. I don't think you have much choice, but it is a fairly new development. It's obviously great for viewing and for broadcasting purposes, too.
Yeah, no question.
We don't have to fill up that first end blank time with the resumes and all that.
That's absolutely right.
Okay. 14 and a half to high 14s now, doing this line.
So a nice pile already forming in the forefoot here.
Yeah, both leads doing their job, and for team Retornaz, Armand with a nice lob right down into that pile as well.
Our first look at Duncan McFadgen here.
Nobody wants to be the first one to miss with 5 makes already to start the game.
Yeah, unfortunately for Duncan, it seems like he's the first one to blink there. Does just touch the red one over, which I think helps the angles a little bit, but goes by the pile.
I already messed up math. It was 4, not 5. So it didn't take very long at all.
That's all right. Math is not our specialty. I think we've been very clear.
We've made that very clear.
Sol, freeze.
14 mesi mi piace.
Sì, questa è 13,9.
5.
5.
Stesso sta.
Stai lì per la linea che le puggia, spero tu io lui nella gira.
Retornaz trying to take advantage again, playing same intern side. Fadgen play. Just lobbing into that pile, trying to get on top of this redstone. Maybe unlock it just a little bit if they can, but need to get finish. Does bounce off, so a little heavy, a little wide.
Yeah, things are starting to get a little interesting in the house here.
See our first hit of this matchup.
Yeah, I guess trying to get inside this one.
Yeah, they want to miss the back red if they can, and just roll in a couple inches.
Whoa, bleed. Whoa, bleed. Yep. Hard. Really gotta go. Hard.
And they will get inside it. And I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's lined up really well.
For Team Whyte.
Great angles.
A very nice shot there from Duncan.
It looks as though Joel wants to bail here now. They don't really have much option with where the rocks are set up, so could lose 2 of those reds for sure. Pretty close to nose for Amos Mazzana. I feel like Amos has to let go of the stone immediately when it's on the hat.
I know.
The length.
I know. Being from BC, that's not great.
Yeah, that's going to get a little more dangerous now, and Mazzana crosses that just a little bit, moves some stones around, but only loses their own.
They get a replay there, and you can see just, loses their own at the top, keeps the reds all in a line. It's early trouble here for Retornaz, and we saw yesterday they gave up a 4 against Matt Dunstone early, and that kind of killed that game, so they'll be hoping to avoid that here today.
Yeah, that should be fine. I don't think this will go.
Yeah, they think they can get this yellow to go and not lose any of the reds. It's just going to redirect off that second red that's biting the top of the 4-foot. Probably shoot it to the side of the house. But they don't have to throw it that hard because it's just like a glance off the edge and should go out fairly easily. So this would just be like a board weight probably, somewhere in there. We're 10, so closer to control.
Duncan on this right out of the hand here for Robin Bryden. This is really curling.
Yeah, that's the, we've said so many times in previous draws about the misses that we've seen have been on the in-between tracks when you get inside the draw path in the early ends and you catch some fresh pads, and they end up being on the narrow side and the light side. Happened in our feature game last evening as well.
Yeah, I think even just simplifying it beyond that, we have seen most of the misses are coming narrow. You know, it's been interesting. You don't see a ton where they're whoa off it all the way down and watching it. It's if you get a little bit light or you point it a little bit, you're just never holding the rock as well as you think you might be able to.
Yeah, and broken record again for those watching the entire week so far is the slam miss is going to be on the narrow or the light side the vast majority of the time, just with the sharp breaks that these shots take, where once they're curling, they're pretty much gone. Holding the line is really difficult to do if you haven't anticipated the break more than on any other ice surface. Still not out of the woods by any means for Team Retornaz, so they really need to talk about where they can end up here. That Yellowstone awfully lonely without Hammer here in the first.
That's a lonely lemon. Sounds like a children's book character. Lonely lemon sat alone in the corner of a room.
I always went with bananas with Yellowstones.
Yeah.
But
There's a lot of, I was going lemons and cherries, and then Kate Cameron called the Reds rubies. I called a game with her in Oakville, or no, Calgary, and I liked ruby, so I go lemon and ruby. But yeah, banana's good too, because then that gives you the added option of doing a Minions impression. Did you see Despicable Me 4?
no, haven't yet. Seen the first three though.
Okay, nice. I took my nephews to see that. They came and visited us over the summer, and it was okay.
Yeah, it's not up for any awards or anything.
No, I don't think so.
You got what you expected out of it?
I don't think it'll be nominated for Best Picture this year, probably. So we weren't able to hear the conversation, but it does look like they're just trying to move as many of these Reds as possible here. And was throwing a bullet. And they were trying to get rid of 2, only got rid of 1, and those are lined up pretty good here, Tyler.
Yeah, they got a little fortunate with where the shooter ended up, as losing both those yellows is going to be difficult. So
Looks like it's going in.
they really need to get one out and see if they can spill the other one to a spot where it's accessible on their last.
Yeah, it seems like Ross indicating they don't think they can get that top yellow out of the house, but as you said, Tyler, maybe just move it out of the 8-foot or out into the 8-foot.
I think they want to still throw this with a little bit of weight just to make sure that that second goes, regardless where you hit the top one. This is just close to the same weight as they threw on the last. Robin Brydon. Yeah, that's not really what they were looking for. It rolls to a spot where it's going to be really difficult to get out, and they're sitting 2. So the good thing for Team Whyte is it'd be very dangerous for Retornaz to try to lose any of those 2 red stones that are count. So they have to play it awfully soft if they're going to, and they need it to stay on top of the red that it's right in front of. So this is a delicate shot here. They are throwing it with a little bit of weight, but it's going to be all about where the other yellow spills to if they can kill it.
So our first look here at Joel Retornaz.
Really need to go here.
Sebastiano leaning on this one. And I don't know if that was the desired result.
Yeah, I think they can make hack weight, and roll away and sit 3. You probably see a double then from Retornaz just to try to give them 2.
We're going closer to the drop off, but running good though.
Just over curled a little bit.
Well, this is still a little bit inside the draw line, so I still think this will curl nice.
Plenty of action there.
Yeah, sort of tells you how bad the setup was for Joel Retornaz. That Robin Bryden missed both his shots, and Ross Whyte still set up quite easily for a multiple score here.
Yeah, this is a big shot here. If you make this and stick around anywhere in the 8-foot, it's almost assuredly going to be an opportunity for 2.
First rock here for Ross Whyte. Olympic silver medalist as the alternate for Bruce Mowat in 2022.
Yeah, these are the ones we've seen snap. Really good ice reading, good clean throw there.
That's lovely.
Yeah, really good. And such a key thing there to roll to where they did. If that over curls a little bit more, then they can play the double off of the rock they just threw
They're dead flat, so
and be buried underneath the rock at the top of the 8-foot. So that's a key result there. Now we're probably going to see just a double on the other two as we expected to try to give a draw for two for
seems so agitated about that.
for team
Perfect.
Whyte.
Doesn't matter who shouts the right thing.
Joel trying to just make both of these go away. Doesn't really care about sticking around or anything.
This is curling. Amos able to hold it though. So he does make the double, and it'll be a draw to the 8-foot here for Ross Whyte for a pair.
Nose is probably the easiest shot, no? Maybe he can't.
Yeah, that rock is right on the center line, so that does kind of block the draw path a little bit. It's really Skip's preference if they want to draw or hit here. Both are good shots.
Yeah, we saw Ross Whyte put it on the pin and his draw to the button before the game. That's why they ended up with hammers. So you have to imagine he's pretty comfortable with the draw weight here. And this is also day 3. So usually by this time of the week, you feel pretty comfortable with draw weight.
They're talking about switching to the hit here. You heard front end saying, you know, nose is probably the easiest shot. And they're just talking about it because, again, it does take the draw path away a little bit, so you have to contend with it. I don't think they're concerned about playing either shot.
Yeah, certainly you wouldn't rank either shot very high on the difficulty scale, especially for a Skip the caliber of Ross Whyte.
Yeah, they did want to make sure that nose would be shot rock, and then Robin Brydon says he's sure.
So final stone for Ross Whyte here in the first end. Chance to put 2 on the board.
Yeah, really well done.
Yeah, very cool there from Ross Whyte. 2 will go up. Joel Retornaz will have the hammer after this.
What was your first one?
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on, every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance.
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line. It's a gold line. It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Joel's lot. No. When it happened in the sheet, it was like on what he hit the stone. I thought a bit fresher line. I thought it was going to curl, but just kind of you know, no mind doing the shoot. Remember that. So that's going to be a fresher line again, really.
So a nice first end there for Ross Whyte. Kind of a soft deuce, as we would say, Tyler. They were never in any trouble of getting it. Maybe he would have even had a chance to get more, but I'm sure they'll be happy to put 2 on the board in the first.
Yeah, they had a half miss, really in the middle of the end, where they're set up for probably a big end, 3-4 possibly. You would have seen some bombs thrown probably from Team Retornaz if that was the case. But, yeah, a well-managed end for Team Whyte. End up with their 2. That was the goal for the first end. And a 2-0 lead. 8-end game in the slams. It's a big start. We had that infamous run by Kevin Martin some years back where he won 38 consecutive games when he scored 2 points in the first end. So I don't think we have any streaks like that going here, but just to tell you how important that 2 in the first can be for high-level teams.
Yeah, that was back in the day when the teams used to pay the Martin tax. They'd go, oh my gosh, I'm getting a chance to play Kevin Martin. I love this. And then they, then they would get banged for a 2 or 3 in the first end.
Guard just stopped short of the ring, so Team Retornaz trying to take the play out to the corners. That one as tight as it is. A little bit of a tricky come around to that spot.
Easy out again. Line's great. It's good. Stop it.
Team Whyte immediately going to the center of the sheet.
Okay, line's still good.
Try to get Rocks bunching up in the center again and take the play away from the corners.
Hard dunk. Hard dunk. Hard. Hard. Hard.
Duncan McFadgen trying to bring this one over, and will do just that right behind that center guard. And looking like a similar start to last end here, with the only difference being the corner guards up for the Italians.
Good start from you and Kyle, 4 for 4. Just get this game going. We're not going to start the 100 watch on him quite yet.
Lean. Linea buona. Freeze. Perfetto. Linea buona per freeze. Perfetto look stop. Linea
And another nice shot that has Mattia 4 for 4 too, I believe, Tyler.
Yeah, the lead's coming out hot this morning. See if the seconds can follow that up as well. John, we were looking across the sheets at the other games this morning's draw before we started, and noted that Koo and Goo, Kevin Cooey and Brad Gushu have played 79 times. That we've recorded, at least for curling purposes.
Crazy number of times.
And Kev leads 40-39. And he's taken 3 in the first end of his matchup against Brad Gushu. Looking to keep the winning record against Brad. I don't think too many teams in the world can claim that.
No, certainly not. Especially not a lot of these new teams where, you know, Brad's obviously been a great player for a long time, but has really been in his dominant era in the last 7 or 8 years or so. So for some of these younger teams, some of these European teams like a Ross Whyte, yeah, probably it's the record's a little more imbalanced for sure. And this is once again a little heavy from Duncan McFadgen. Had the same issue last end.
14-5.
I always think it's fascinating looking at the head-to-head matchups too, because oftentimes you see records that you wouldn't expect, because just like any other sport, there are bad matchups for teams stylistically, and when you get a few wins on somebody, then psychologically it affects how you play as well. And not to throw our friend Cameron Bryce under the bus, but we looked at his record versus Mowat when they played that first game in the event, and they played 18 times, and Cam still got the goose egg next to his name.
19 now.
19 now, yeah.
I believe Tuesday was the 19th, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we got to give it 19 now.
19-0 for sure, and yeah, it was you know, one of the most famous examples of that. Speaking of Kevin Martin, was Peja Lindholm's winning record against Kevin Martin. At one point, he had won 10 games in a row against Kevin, which in those days, if you won 2 games in a row against Kevin, that was a feat. So. Yeah, you're right. It's one of those things that can get in your head, and you feel like you can't beat the team. And who was that for you? Who did you have a bugaboo in the U.S. or even internationally when you were coming up?
In my early years, when I was trying to make my way in the men's circuit, Pete Fenson handed me my hat probably a dozen times before I beat him. But I think I got like 6 in a row on him after that. Once you break through in the elite level, once we reached that. Koo had our number pretty good for a while. I think he beat us like 8 in a row. Thankfully, we got a couple when it really mattered after that in 18.
The Olympic semifinal.
Yeah, I think we lost 8 in a row and then won 3 in a row after that. So when it flips, it tends to flip significantly. And on the flip side, for us, the team whose number we had, surprisingly, was Nicholas Edin.
Okay.
I think we were 5-1 against him in a 2-year span, including that Olympic final. So sometimes you just get the matchup you like, and I think our style kind of messed with them a little bit. And You know, I think we were probably the only team in that tournament that wanted to play Nick in the final. Not to think that, yeah, we're going to beat these guys, of course, but yeah, you know when you have a good record against the team, or you don't. It's you're well aware of these matchup things.
So it's another chat here for Joel and Amos as Duncan McFadgen put that red in a pretty good spot. We're just trying to figure out now what the best plan of attack is here with this jumble up in the middle.
And while they're talking here too, for these two teams, they played 13 times on tour, and Joel has won 8 of those matchups. Last time they played was this year, already this season, at the Baden Masters in the quarterfinals, and Ross had the better end of that one, 5-3.
Yeah, Ross would then lose his next one to his compatriot Bruce Mallett in the semis there, but yeah, it's been a good year for Ross Whyte on tour so far. They made that semifinal. They came second at the Euro Super Series, also losing that one to Mallett, and made the quarterfinals at the Shorty Jenkins too. So they're definitely one of the forces to be reckoned with on tour here. Is this Ross Whyte team? Obviously, we know what Retornaz can do, but feel like we're going to be talking about these Whyte guys for a while.
Looking to move a few of these here, but not overthrow it. Trying to get to as much of this as they can, but let's get by the guard first. Yeah, that's a really good result there. Great angles too.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not right behind the house, but we can see the angle, and those two yellows go right onto that red in the side forefoot.
Yeah, we're probably in the best spot in the house for that angle.
Yeah, exactly.
These yellows are pointing right at us up here in the booth.
So I think they're just trying to change the angles here, Tyler.
Yeah, you don't want to leave those yellows on the angle they're on right now. It's still early enough in the end that you have some time to play these shots, with being Robin's first. It's just an intern tap. If they make this right, you can get the angles back in your favor with possibly lining up the shooter and the red rock that's in the top of the 8-foot to maybe a yellow pocket even. They like this one a lot. Yeah, that's really good. Lines up dead to that #1 counter. So perfect shot from Robin Brydone, and switches the advantage once again. You love making those early in the game, John. Feeling like you have a good feel for the ice with those finesse shots, and really couldn't have lined that one up better than they did.
Well, especially for Robin, last end had a couple half misses. So yeah, I agree completely. Nice to feel like you're locked in. It was a big summer for Robin. Got engaged to his partner Clancy Grandy.
Yeah, both of them graced us with their presence at the House of Hearts in Duluth charity event this year. So they both did a wonderful job for us, helped us raise a record amount of money for feeding hungry kids in Northland. And Robin, I was gifted a USA windbreaker that probably cost maybe $10 at a thrift store from somebody I did an event with early in the season. Brought that out and wore it for the weekend and did a live auction for it on Saturday night when everybody was in prime form. And
yes, in good auctioning shape. Yeah.
Robin spent an inordinate amount of money on that windbreaker, so I know he owns a 1990s style, like paper-thin USA windbreaker. But yeah, they did a ton for the event. We really appreciate them coming down. So really fun people. I wonder if he brought it up here. If I'd have told him I was coming, I don't think he probably would have had to support it.
Yeah, the House of Hearts, a great event. I was a part of that myself a few years ago. And yeah, it's a really special time in Duluth for sure.
Quiet gathering of like-minded people for a charitable purpose. Yeah, we had the ride to the airport that Sunday morning when I had to go to Denver for mixed nationals, my last competitive event. I was in slightly different shape than you were, I think, at that point.
It was pretty early in the morning.
The sun was not up.
The sun was definitely not up. Both in the sky and I think in your brain as well. So what are the options here that they're talking about?
Well, listening into Robin, he's really seeing that he thinks the pocket for those 2 yellows. He was looking at the guard and maybe running that. You can get a lot of good results from playing the guard, opening it up, but also you could run it into the 2 reds and you still get a good result. So I think, and anytime you hear your shooters say, I'm really seeing this, well, listen to what he's seeing now.
I think they're running the yellow back.
Yeah, they switched over and now playing yellow, and I don't know that they can get both and squeeze that through, possibly. He'll tick. It's a little riskier shot than the one that we were originally looking at.
How about that?
That's really good.
How about that? What a shot.
Oh, is that perfect? Well, Robin's feeling good early here.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Another look at that, getting all 3 of those lemons gone, and
That's exactly where they were trying to hit
where they were trying to hit it. And you never feel great running an opposition rock into the house. So many things can go wrong, but that's phenomenal from Robin Brydone there.
And again, the teaching points for the younger players and the club players, making the adjustment from the soft weight shot to the up weight shot, be able to switch gears like that. That's just such a weapon. Now for Team Retornaz, still an opportunity to maybe get a 2 if they can hit and leave this in a good spot, but another delicate hit. Oh, just hairs the top one, and moves it over to blocking off the other side of the forefoot. This is a dangerous situation now for Retornaz. And John, you see that draw path was always going to be open for them, at least on the opposite side. And really could have sat 2 and been in decent shape with that one. But now that yellow stone may be exiting the premises, and the forefoot's blocked off, and there's a center guard.
Yeah, and it's scary for Team Retornaz when you only have 2 more rocks to come. If this is a setup for the thirds, you're maybe not drawn dead here, but if Ross Whyte gets rid of this yellow stone, it's going to be really, really hard for Retornaz to not give up a steal.
Yeah, you want to get to as much of this as possible. The other side of getting to nose or close to it is if they do manage to find their way around that pile, it's just lined up to whatever they'd throw around it. Rolling away would possibly give them a way in, too, to come off of for Retornaz. So, yeah, if you can get to close to nose with this shot, you can see about half from the hack. Really have them in a bind.
So we'll see if Ross Whyte can apply the pressure here.
Duncan McFadden trying to get this to turn. He rolls a little bit. Still a pretty good result. Yeah, this is damage control mode now for Retornaz. They just have to figure out a way in for their last shot.
I was fine with call. I was just like, I was scared of that. I just thought if I can make one call.
my next shot's so much easier because I've got just got full stone to put shit on.
It's got to draw side of the line.
I just thought I'll roll away, then after trying to play that same shot.
And the problem with hitting the stone that they're looking at in the top of the 8-foot is there isn't anywhere they can roll to that gives them a tap or any way to get in. That blockade of red stones above the tee line and that center guard taking away the pocket. This is all about just trying to manage these stones to the point that they can have a shot on their last to score and not have it be something that's against a 3 or a 4 if it's a circus shot, so that if they don't make it, they're basically buried already after 2 ends.
Yeah, not a lot of joy here for Joel Retornaz. It's going to take 2 big shots to find his way out of trouble here. This is the first one. We need to get some rubies moving.
We're quite content if we just shoved Elliot out to the side and we still saw it.
Yeah, they really wanted to get that center one moving too and just tickled it a little bit, but it stays right there, so still trouble for Retornaz. He has at least one way in with that in-off, but if you throw a draw to a good spot, you might be able to take that away. We'll listen in and see what they're thinking.
Come here and maybe has. I think he's trying to make it stop from getting. He's either playing this or he's trying to draw here. He's probably out drawing these two. His birds return on top of the pin. So if he has to chase it, he's going here.
Just above the pin.
Like that.
Shorter side's fine. Just wondering, we go right in there, he's got a huge pocket coming off it, doesn't he? Like, I'm wondering if we just put it a touch higher up, if he's actually got a higher shot.
That was kind of my thought too.
It's like just right there. Yeah, it might be a tougher shot than. I think we're calling the right shot, but it's just where we put it.
Right.
Top one's fine if he's making this.
Yeah, so the question is, the initial thought was to draw top of the button. So if they play the in-off, then it still jams on the rock in the back of the 4-foot, and you still get your steal of 1. Plus, they're playing against the 3. If you leave it out a little higher, it's less for them to play the in-off into a smaller area. But the concern then for Ross was that he believes that they might be able to draw around and score. So if they throw it to the top of the button, he thinks that there's no score. And with a 2-point lead, I mean, even if you think you could bury them right now with a 3 or something, if you did throw it on the top of the 4-foot, you're probably guaranteeing a steal if you get the piece of the button.
So this rock will have to be well managed. It's Ross Whyte's last in the second, already up 2.
Tolerance
lying
here,
2.
yeah. Tolerance here would be a little short too.
Right in the button's pretty much exactly where they want it. So the weight's there. Do they have the line as well? You and Kyle trying to bring this one over. And I don't know if you could have walked that down any better, Tyler.
So good.
That is fantastic.
I don't see a score for Joel now. That's because that in-off now, exactly as they said, it goes into that red stone. I don't think they get shot.
I don't even know how they get rid of 2 of them.
Just perfect from Ross Whyte. That's such a good shot.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
So really you're looking at maybe giving 1 if you can.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost the best case scenario here.
Yeah, Amos is looking at if you play the in-off and you hit it a little on the low side of the stone, the back side of it, can you get it to stick there? But the risk then obviously is your shooter might spin and go out the back of the forefoot too.
Do they have anything with that corner yellow, Tyler? Is there any kind of angle run off of this back red? They haven't looked at it at all, so I'm guessing no, but
I think you maybe, I don't think you can score with it. And you got to get so close to that rock on the top of the forefoot.
yeah,
I don't know that it's there.
yeah. This is, you don't see this too often. You don't see games at this level, period, but you also don't see Joel Retornaz in this situation too often where you're trying to find a way to only give up a steal of one. That's really tough. Looks like he's going to try and thin this and give up a steal of one, but that's no picnic, that's for sure.
If you hit what you can see, you can probably get those two out and give one.
Yeah, we can see from that angle, Tyler, he can't see a ton of it. It's not an easy shot.
He can see enough to make the double.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, it's if you touch that yellow stone, it could be 5. Because you lose that one and your shooter.
So here we go, Joel Retornaz trying to staunch the bleeding here. And he will. So
nice shot by Joel.
Really tough in that scenario to muster the courage, but Joel Retornaz does. Makes the double. It's only a steal of one for Ross Whyte.
When you've conquered another game, a long day, a job well done, and the final work call, we're your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mice, eat locally, enjoy casually.
Hey everybody, we're back. The third end here between Ross Whyte and Joel Retornaz, and yeah, Tyler, safe to say Ross Whyte cooking so far. He's looked fantastic.
Yeah, 1 through 4, the team playing extremely well. We see another perfect make from lead Johan Kyle, and the century watch is still on for him, but yeah, a couple of dandies from Robin Breidenet's third that end to put them in great position, setting up the angle so well where, I mean, you saw how much time Team Retornaz had to take to try to figure out what they were doing. They're just short of 20 minutes right now already after 2 ends of play. Not a whole lot more for
Ross either, I know.
21-24.
2 very slow ends.
Yeah, well behind the other games on these sheets. But you can't really blame Joel, as they were looking at being out of the game if they don't figure out a way out of that end. And giving one was absolutely the best they were going to do after that perfect draw by Ross on his last to touching the top of the button.
That was gorgeous. I mean, you know, we used the phrase you couldn't walk it down any better, but genuinely you could not have walked it down any better. Absolutely perfect positioning for Ross, and yeah, they're definitely feeling it here this morning, and you and Kyle now 6 for 6. And I mean, I'm biased because I'm a career lead, but when your lead is cooking and getting everything in the right spot, it really does help. And Mattia, for the record, has also had great starts to the ends, but yeah, you really need your leads to get the rocks in the right spots, especially when you're leading. You know, it really helps you continue to put the pressure on your opponent.
You're already shining up the game ball for Ewan right now, aren't you?
That's right, absolutely. I don't know what they said, but I know one of the words was a swear word. I don't speak Scottish, unfortunately.
Spelled with an O instead of a U, though.
Yes, correct.
For the Scots.
Yeah. Couple O's sometimes.
Yeah, I think 6 for 6 now for both leads as well.
Yeah,
2
Joel
perfectly placed stones.
Yeah, going 2 corner guards this time, going following the you and Kyle Stone into the house hasn't worked out well for them so far. So switching to 2 corners here. See how that works out for them.
Carl now. Go on, Robin, get it going, man. Get it going. Both hands, both hands. Go. Hard, Robin.
Just a hair short of frozen, but a good spot.
What'd you get?
15-1. Good throw.
Yeah, you'll take that one if you're Team Whyte. And piling up stones on the center line and keeping Team Retornaz chasing. And that's the issue when you fall behind now, is your opponent is all about preventing you from doing exactly what you're trying to. Playing defense, trying to keep center plugged up. Good shot there. Loses 2 and rolls a little bit off the center line. Plenty of stones for Team Retornaz to use to try to set up a 2 or a 3.
Love to make that.
This is a shot you call when you're feeling it, I feel like.
Yeah, and
let's make the double and just sit there for a center guard. I think that's probably good if we do that.
yeah, it's probably the safest shot too, even though it's a thin half a rock double on the guards. You know, safe is still keeping things as open as possible with the 3-point lead. Fadgen didn't like this one out of his hand. That would be why.
Yeah, do not want that one to end up in the rings. Thankfully for them it won't, but does give Joel a big wall of corner guards to come around here.
Yeah, that's not the side you wanted to err on. If you catch it a little thin and you miss the other stone, not that big a deal. But now spinning up off of that, cornering on the other corner guard. Pretty good setup now, all of a sudden, for Joel. Having Armand play this out-turn come-around draw. Anytime you can draw underneath the corners, and it's going to take a minimum of 2 shots just to get to that stone. That's a good thing when you're trying to set up a 2 or a 3-point end. Perfect line here. Just need to carry it a little farther.
Can you throw that double field but like try and spin ours into the rings?
So you can see from that angle there, pretty well buried for Sebastiano Armand.
This will be a fun one. Trying to get some action on that red stone and maybe even roll both of them to centers.
I think it's an out-turn shot to get.
I think it's an out-turn shot, Ross, no?
I don't think Ross thinks it is an out-turn shot.
I think it will.
I don't think it makes a big difference which turn you play here, because you're only playing to roll them a couple feet. You don't need to get a ton of action. And not throwing a bomb with this either, because you are trying to control where you want the shooter to go to.
I don't think they love this one.
Oh, that'll leave the corner there. That's Robin saying, gotta miss that to the inside. He knows.
This is looking quite good now for Team Retornaz.
And still 2 corners.
Yeah, 3 is certainly on the table here.
What shot they play now is basically deciding if they're playing for 2 or if they're playing for 3. They're on third's first stone. So they were talking about drawing to the back of the 12-foot. Or back 8-foot around the rock in the house. Difficult shot, and then leaving the number 1 counter, but now electing to play the hit on number 1.
Oh, did they lose it here? Oh, did they lose it here? Oh my goodness, just overcooked it a hair on the carve. Yeah, that's an unforced error.
Yeah, that surprised Joel. That's really got that one going, and you know, sometimes the blessing of having sweeping like they do can be a curse as well when it's that effective on turning the rock over. So that'll give Bryden a free look at trying to play the double run.
And he won't.
Clears the corner, yeah.
So still a good situation for Joel Retornaz, but it could have been even better if that ammo stone had stayed in the rings.
Still set up for a 2. Split in the rings here. Only skip stones remaining after this throw from Amos. The old junior deuce, split in the rings.
Nothing at all from Armand and Giovanella.
Yeah,
that does stop in time. So Retornaz lying 2 with the hammer here. We're into skip stones.
Looks like it's going to be 2 regardless.
Yeah, there really isn't a shot they can play to stay away from 2 at this point. There's not enough rocks left in the end to try to figure out a way to set up a double. So you need to just avoid the rollout, as there is a split over on the opposite side.
Yeah, so you heard Ross say he's not too worried if they hit and stick here. He thinks Joel will chase after the one that they hit rather than try to stack another one around the corner guard. And I am inclined to agree with Ross on that.
Well, I think he's also thinking they could freeze on this stick.
Right, yes.
And
I would
make
be very
them have
surprised.
to blast and then give them a split for 3.
Yeah.
So they think that they'll probably hit, but it's not out of the question if they stick there that they play this freeze.
It does look like the hit called pretty immediately here for Joel.
And again, the concern was if that freeze is made, there may not be a spot if it's made good enough that Ross could lose the frozen stone and not have his shooter go out too, which would give that split for 3 on the opposite side. So well thought out, but Ross pushing his chips in on the side that they will not play the freeze and just play for the 2, and he's correct. I think John Cullen would have played the freeze and got the 3.
Well, you know, I played a few freezes in my day, but I'm not. I don't know if I'm that brave. Ooh, you don't want to roll out here. Oh my goodness.
That's a surprising miss there, and now a chance to get out of the end for Ross if they can make this run.
My goodness.
And this is the only spot on the sheet, John, that we've seen misses on the wide side consistently. You get outside the draw path, and they just kind of run straight, fade back a little bit out there, but it's been the same all 3 days so far, so nothing new.
You're miles off it if you're stopping that.
Yeah, this is a chance to be a real momentum killer for Ross Whyte here. You know, Joel had a chance at a relatively simple deuce. He misses it. He's already down 3-0. Ross makes this. That really puts a dent in the hull of the great ship Retornaz.
the bard, John
Yes.
Cullen.
So final stone here for Ross Whyte.
Oh, it needed a curl. Just riding. Overswept a little bit there. You could hear Ross calling off. And a little momentum swing there. That was probably made without the sweep. And just didn't take the finish that Robin thought it was going to take. And still thought it might go when it made contact.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
With how live the striking bands are.
For sure that, we usually see rocks in the slams move pretty good, but we have heard some of the curlers remark over the week that the houses are a little bit dead, that they're not getting the rolls that they're sometimes used to seeing. So another example of that there, and Joel Retornaz will breathe a sigh of relief as soon as this one hits paint.
And stops on paint.
Yeah, well, true. Yes, good point. Good point. They don't give you a point just because you went through it. That's true.
Touched all the rings.
So no mistake for Joel Retornaz, and dodged a bit of a bullet there. We'll put 2 on the board. Ross Whyte will have the hammer end to end at number 4.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on, every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance.
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a gold line. It's a gold line. It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
When you've conquered another game, a long day, a job well done, and the final work call, where your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mice, eat locally, enjoy casual.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms.
Welcome back inside the Bell Alliant Arena here in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. Day 3 of the HearingLife Tour Challenge B semifinal between Ross Whyte and Joel Retornaz. John Cullen alongside Tyler George. And Tyler, you have to say for Joel Retornaz, not feeling amazing about how that last end went, but feeling good that you managed to get 2 on the board.
Feeling a little momentum for sure, too, with looking like they were locked in for a 2 to looking like 2 is dead to 2 being right back on the table again. So I think if they would have got forced in that end after rolling out on Joel's, then you see the shoulders slumping a little bit. But again, just a little sweeping error on that final shot, and they end up managing that 2. And the difference on the scoreboard in an 8-end game between 3-1 and 3-2 is very significant. So all you need to do now, if you're Team Retornaz, is you get a force and you get a 2 again. It sounds simple enough, and you're tied up. So huge point there, and right back in the game.
So going for a double center guard here is the team from Chembra.
Yeah, an interesting call, too, from Whyte to go to the corner. Not with the 1-point lead just to beat your opponent into the 4-foot, but Retornaz does go to a second center, which will necessitate a draw to the 4-foot for Whyte. As if you don't, your opponent certainly will.
Yeah, do you think that's a bit of a call made by Ross, just recognizing they're playing a little better than Retornaz now and thinking, we can afford to be a little offensive here?
That's possible, yeah. I was a little surprised that they didn't just take that 4-foot away immediately. But they're trying to pull the game away from the center of the sheet. Still not a bad spot there. Another foot would have been probably safer to not have it be essentially another center for Retornaz to draw around. With as much curl as we're getting, they can certainly get buried underneath the red that's in the top of the 8-foot.
So a draw around everything here for Sebastiano.
I would think that barring a draw that stays wide open in the house, that you'll see Whyte peeling that top center after this shot. This has got to go to get there.
Yeah, maybe calling the audible on a top house freeze here. A good audible. Not a great result, but a good audible for sure. Got something out of it.
This will be the high hard one here from Duncan. Have to hit it pretty thick to still make contact with that second guard. You don't want to stack and leave it there. Oh, just barely misses the second center.
Really good try from Duncan McFadgen.
I think he thought we were missing it regardless, so he was just wanting to get away.
Potrei continuare a metterla in altra o giocare questo anche. Se ne piace.
I thought he called walk and it was like,
A me piaceva una guardia o
I thought he
tutti,
made
ma
it, but as soon as he started saying like, oh, roll it off, roll it off, just missing it. It's pretty good. I bet if we keep doing this, we should call it bluff.
Sebastiano just trying to replace that guard. Keep some distance between the two centers so the double peel is more difficult. I think it pretty much exactly where it was in the previous shot. These are always such touchy guards to throw where you got to throw a 1. Get it just over the hog line.
Yeah, I used to hate that. That was my least favorite shot to throw.
My teammate Matt Hamilton, for all the shots he loved to throw, always dreaded trying to throw a 1. So I can't make that shot like he had it in his head.
Yeah, it's so tough.
Sure you can. Just think of a center guard and then throw 3 feet less.
I think it's just because Leeds, we never have to be precise. We usually have a landing zone, you know? You throw a 3 guard, it ends up a 2.5. It's fine. You draw around the center, you need top 4. It's biting the top 4. That's fine. But when you're just over the hog line, you don't have as much of a landing zone. And if you're short, the rock isn't even in play. So.
Yeah, it's different than, you know, when you're trying to draw like the back of the rings. You know, you're close to being through the house and out of play, but you can throw it short and have your sweepers be able to take it and go, where if you throw it way short, you're still in the house with a 1 trying to get it just over the hog line. If you throw it to the sweepers, they're sweeping it from being out of play.
Exactly.
To trying to get it in play.
Yeah, 100%. And you also don't throw them very often in the game, so it's hard to calibrate for that weight. You're so used to throwing a halfway or a tight guard or a draw that when your number gets called and you got to throw that rock, it's not maybe something that you necessarily have calculated in your slide. So really nice work by Amos now and Sebastiano before to make those perfect. And we'll see if Ross Whyte decides to come in the house here.
Yeah, at some point Ross has to make that decision. I think he's trying to figure out when Joel is going to come in. So this is the cat and mouse game of which team goes in first. For Ross, he'd like to run him out of 1 more stone, but I think this next stone might be where you see Joel go in, just because I think Ross will if he doesn't. So I'd be surprised if Joel threw another guard here. Yeah, he's coming in now. I think this is kind of what both teams expected, that this would be the point they'd go in. And I think if Ross had on the previous shot, it probably would have been 1 too early. So
So a bit of pressure here on Amos Mozaner. Need to get this one buried. Would love to get it for shot. And Giovanella and Armand are on this right away. You got to get by that top red. Oh my. Amos pulls the string and
bounces off too.
Yeah, really tough.
So now that rock does not end up in a good position. And for Team Whyte, you can kind of have a go at putting up a big end here too, because you're not really in any danger. And you can play for a 2 or a 3 to try to bury your opponent, not particularly concerned about if they go all out trying to steal.
To make the double, they have to roll away, and then I can go there.
It's like we're in sync.
You like to hear that.
Yeah, that was exactly what you and Kyle just said.
Yeah.
Ross took about a good 30 seconds staring at the house to try to figure it out, and then
Robin sent the thought back down into Ross's head, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Telepathy.
So yeah, they're saying if they nose this, then Joel, to make the double on the 2 reds, will have to roll away, and then that'll leave the draw in for Ross to try to get a skips too. If you roll in, then it might leave a stagger for Joel to get around where they can't get to that stone. So if you're wondering why they didn't decide to roll under the guard, that would be why, because now you're giving your opponent, who's trying hard to steal, a pile of stones that are angled off that if they get underneath, you can't get to the rock.
So it did roll a little to the wing. They wanted it right on the nose, and this will allow Joel to maybe make a thin double and sit right there.
Yeah, that flipped it, because had they nosed, Joel would only be able to play the outside of the stone for the double, slash in, hit the high side. Now it's a thin double, but they can play the inside and roll in. That's what Joel is attempting to do with this out turn.
Need to move that red far enough. Oh, no.
Boy, again, the dead houses, too. That looked like it was going to get at least to the 12-foot, but kind of knuckled a little bit, too.
And now just all of a sudden like that, a 3 is potentially in play for Ross Whyte.
Yeah, and Ross really doesn't have much choice but to come around it, I think, because if he doesn't, Joel will be forced to.
I mean, nothing. Can he make the double and roll under? Which would be a disaster.
They're looking at maybe doubling the 2 yellows. I can understand that too. Keep this thing in.
Worst case scenario, it's just steal it.
Okay, they're going to call a timeout here.
So the thought process is if they come around, they might get forced. Yeah.
Make it good, we're counting the score.
Just saying there, even if you make it as good as you can, he can't, then you're right tough shot.
I just thought as we make it good, but the biggest chance I think we got from getting this is on a touch shot. Knows it doesn't look like you can get the inside for the double. He's playing this.
I think he can get the inside for the double. From the far end, it looks like he can.
Everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Yeah.
I think we're okay with that. We're
fine.
I think this puts a bit more pressure on him.
I think it puts more pressure on him, but I think if you're looking at the stats,
we can make this roll underneath there. Like right now, the perfect shot is this.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
I just concerned with this is the only way we get to steal. And even if we put it right in front of this, he has to meet the
I think you're not. I think not to
Yeah, I agree there. If you nose that, you can run it in if they make the draw.
I think you put that then. A draw from
It seemed like Ross always liked this double. Never really was enamored with the draw.
Yeah, I think I lean draw still. I mean, he made such a great draw on this exact same line in the second, but he came right to the top of the button to get the steal. So, I mean, they've played it and made it, but if you're going to hit these, you have to nose, because if you roll away, you know, he's playing to put the pressure on them to play the draw, but if he does, it's dead buried behind their own yellow and you don't have a way in. You'd have to play an angle run to it if it's buried perfectly. If you nose here, you can run your own into anything that they draw around. If they decide to draw, they may decide to double too.
Ooh, this is flirting with the center. Don't want to do that. Really good sweep from you and Kyle, right on the nose, exactly where they wanted it.
Yeah,
Ross Whyte lies too.
That's perfect. I think I still prefer the draw, but because now, you know, their draw is going to go probably to back 4 or even back 8. So it's a longer run off that red stone. Yeah, exactly where they're pointing.
Yeah, I thought it was a little interesting that, Ross was so concerned with, if we play the draw, that's the only way we give up a steal. Not convinced it's the only way you give up a steal.
But that's the attitude usually you see when you're not playing well or don't trust the ice, or you're playing against a team that you don't want to give an opportunity that you're considerably better than. The way that they're playing right now and the way that he's drawing, the way he made the one in the second, why not just throw it right to the top of the button and let them try? And you're still going to have a draw for 2 no matter how good they make it, as long as it's not too deep. So yeah, I'm a little surprised at the call. They're playing the scoreboard a little bit too, I get that. But now they're giving themselves probably the most difficult opportunity to score more than 1. If this is made to the back of the 8-foot and they decide to play the run back on their own red, which a nose doesn't get the shooter in the rings for 2 anyways. This is coasting.
This is coasting. How far will it go? Ross Whyte trying to work it. And did it go far enough where Ross has a draw for 2? It's tough to tell from our angle here.
He can still tap that for 3,
for sure,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't get on the right track at all.
Yeah, no, it's the touch game we know Joel has in his locker, but it hasn't been there for him today so far.
Yeah, this is one of those that it looks like it may work out for Ross. I don't know that it means it was correct or not, but if they do make that shot relatively well, you're probably drawing for 1 anyways. So.
Yes. Ross did say, are you happy drawing for 2? So that seems to suggest that they are shot at the moment. But you play a heavy draw at this. You just have to make sure you give yourself a chance to score 2, even if you are not on the right line. Can't overthrow this. So it's the final stone for Ross Whyte and a chance to take a 4-point lead into the 4th end break.
Now this is one that you want to throw no more than back line, probably. Need more than back 12 to move it far enough. I don't think that's got enough weight right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. You got to move that yellow pretty far. McFadgen and Kyle going to try to lean on it here. It's definitely there for 2. Can they move it far enough for 3? No, they cannot. So great try from Ross Whyte, but as we said, that's the way you had to miss it. 2 up on the board for Whyte. We'll take a 3-minute break.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on, every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
Pushing limits.
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on,
It's a gold line. It's a gold line. It's a gold line.
and it's the choice of champions.
When you've conquered another game, a long day, a job well done, and the final work call, we're your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mice, eat locally, enjoy casual.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a gold line.
And is the choice of champions.
Era giusto per 4 su 5.
Welcome back, curling fans, inside the Bell Alliance Center here. A great crowd, has to be said, Tyler, for such an early morning draw here. The fans have been fantastic in Charlottetown all week long. We were talking about it on the stream yesterday, but very knowledgeable, excited to meet the players too. You're seeing when the players are coming off the ice, signing autographs, taking selfies. It's been a great place to have the HearingLife Tour Challenge. We've got to explore the city a little bit. Really beautiful here on the island, and beautiful inside the rink as well if you're Ross Whyte, leading 5-2 over Joel Retornaz.
It should be noted that someone from Team Whyte has been added to the tech crew here for Home Team Live as they booted one of the cameras to pointing directly at the crowd, and we only know that because we heard it on the live mic. So actually somehow ended up dead center on the crowd view too.
Hey.
So we're making the most of it.
If the curling doesn't work out, there might be a future in camera operation for Team Whyte.
Yeah, we heard us. Yeah, I kicked it. Disaster. I think it's pointed at the crowd now. Yeah, no, a solid first half for Team Whyte, an eyelash away from a 4-point lead at the break. Just one of those safe throws that you're making sure you don't go by. You know, with the weight sensitivity of the weights, even for heavy draw compared to draw to the button. If you throw a couple feet more weight, it kind of runs a little bit, and I'm sure they were conscious of that with slam ice. They wanted to make sure that they had the 2 first and then sweep for 3. So a smart way to play the shot, but ended up just maybe a foot or 2 short on the weight that they needed in order to get the 3. But I'd say they'd be very happy with 5-2 before the game started. And really playing pretty well. A couple of missed sweep calls away from maybe this game already being out of hand. And for Team Retornaz, again, you're down 3, but your focus is on getting 2. And you're going pretty hard at 2 now with only 4 ends to play. So if they get an opportunity, risk reward for a more difficult shot to score multiple points, as opposed to taking your single, you'll probably see them take that on.
And this is just a reminder, of course, that 3 other games happening this morning at the HearingLife Tour Challenge, which you can watch on Home Team Live. We have all 4 games for you. This is the only one with player audio and commentary, but you can see the video of all the other games over on Sheet A. It is Mike McEwen out to a 4-1 lead over James Crake. It's Kevin Cooey and Brad Guju locked in a close match. Kevin Cooey leads that one 4-3 with the hammer. And directly in front of us, it is Team Schwaller against Team Brunner. It's a all-Swiss battle, and Yannick Schwaller ahead in that one 4-1. All of those games are in the 5th end, and as I said, all of them available on Home Team Live, just like all the games will be all weekend long.
Once again, good setup for Team Whyte. You and Kyle leading the way. Right to the top of the forefoot and center guard. McFadgen now. Perfect come around, and we may still be at 100% for both leads at this point.
I believe so, yep.
We don't want Mattia to get left behind.
Yeah.
Even though the scoreboard might say they're down 3, sometimes it has no bearing on what you're doing with those 1 and 2 stones.
That's right. That's how I used to get over losses. Oh, I played great, guys.
Did you see my numbers?
I don't know. I don't know what happened to you guys, but I was ready to play. Yeah, exactly.
Can't throw them for you, boys. I can only set you up. We always said with regard to the importance of lead stones, it's very difficult to win a game from the lead position, but you can certainly lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially at the slam level, you know, I joke about my own career, but I was not in the same league as these guys, especially these days. You know, the last 5 years since I retired, it's really been just such an increase in how good these front end players are, both at throwing and sweeping, and you see it in the seconds now too. I think, you know, when the 4-rock rule came into play, there was always this thought that, well, you know, you can hide someone at second a little bit, maybe they're a decent hitter, and you know, they don't make everything, but that's fine, it's not the end of the world. But now with the 5-rock rule, your second really has to be like a third. They have to be able to do everything, make the draws, make hack weight hits, but still also have the peel in their locker. And so yeah, it's the way the game has evolved. It continues to evolve, and you really, especially at the slam level, can't get anywhere unless every position 1 to 4 is a talented player.
Yeah, and obviously with the 5-rock rule, the seconds are throwing more draws, not just because of where the rocks are positioned,
wow.
but
speaking of seconds, sorry, what perfect, a shot from Duncan McFadgen.
Duncan McFadgen getting rid of both guards and spilling onto the rings.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, we do need to call the game as well, not just wax poetic here. That's a fantastic shot from Duncan. He looked like he was a little upset that the rock stuck around, but I think Ewan was telling him, hey, I think that's better. So
it's in the
happy.
House. It's in the house, dude.
Well, and not only is it in the house, but it's not really a corner for them to go around because of that rock biting the top of the 8-foot right now. And if they did throw a corner up on that side again, it's blocking the draw path off. So it's a really good spot for that stone besides.
It makes us ever just peeling it and going into the ones.
Playing that back house weight draw that we talked about a little earlier, John, trying to throw it right to the back 12s and use the rocks in the top of the house as guards. It's a really good shot there from Armand. I feel like that was a shot that we utilized more than our opponents, more often than not, trying to draw the back of the rings and treat the 12s like the 4-foot when you're trying to make a comeback. Unfortunately, if you're using that rock or that shot more than your opponents, it probably means you're behind. You don't throw too many draws to back 12s on purpose with the lead.
A nice shot there from Robin Bryden. That is the one thing that when you are drawing around the in-house guard, as it were, it tends to make the run backs obviously quite a bit shorter.
It can't be much longer than 10 feet if it's in the house,
yeah,
based on the width of the rocks
again,
and the diameter of the house itself.
Math not my strong suit, but I do know the house is 12 feet. So it's roughly 1.75 Amos Mosaners long.
That's way more math than I expected you to do. We're getting to the decimal points now.
Only 2. I can only go 2 decimal points, and then after that, I'm cooked.
I have to make sure that I'm more up on the metric system for this.
Oh, good point. Good
I'm
point.
in a very small group on the opposite side of things, so.
So another run back here for Robin Bryden as Amos makes the come around. This sounds close. They'd love to stick it this time if they can.
Yeah, I don't know that they want to, actually.
Okay.
If you're behind that rock in the back of the house, now it's a rock to freeze to, so it's not just a straight run. You'd have to avoid backing as well. So every time that rolls off, now they're just drawing to open space where it's a much easier run back. Now, if they had thrown that to the top of the button, then yeah, you want to stick it because you're above the tee line. There's no freeze to play to. Just making sure they get the 4 out of 4 in the books.
Absolutely, that's it, yeah. Oh, we don't do the stats back here, so thankfully they don't have to worry about that. No, it was more that I heard Ewan say on the first one they were kind of maybe hoping to stick it, but you're right. With the way the sweep call was in that last one, they definitely were not. So that was probably true of the first one as well.
I think you got better. I think you've got hundreds of rounds. I was just saying that. Like, maybe a piece.
Still what? 13 out, 13 8.
What's chasing it? Like 13, 12 and a half?
12 and a half. I think 12 will get it.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Nice and close.
Yeah, I really like this.
So the chase is on here for Ross Whyte with his first. That yellow one sliding into the back of the house, so it should be pretty accessible here, but Duncan McFadgen on this right away. He slows off of it a little bit now. The way they were calling that out of the hand, I thought it was going to get a lot closer to that guard than it did. Nice shot from Ross Whyte, and they lie 3 without the hammer.
Yeah, kind of cruise control right now for Whyte. Just making the simple shots, the finesse shots, the runs. Good rhythm going. You said they didn't want to roll behind their own to leave the freeze behind that rock at the top of the 12-foot. You saw almost trying to get that rock all the way behind the stone top 12, but very nicely executed again by Ross. No choice now for Retornaz, but to draw around that rock, top 12. I expect this to probably be back 8, ideally. Again, back 8 just to get more distance and make the run back a tougher shot.
So Joel has yet to really get the engine started in this end. Going to try to do it here with his first and set up a potential skips deuce.
Just need this one to stop. This line is good. They don't want it to come out the other side. That's a really good shot. They wanted to probably go a little deeper than they did, but couldn't sweep it because of how much it was curling. If they bring it farther back, they could pick the stone out. So had to just let it die in the back of the button. Good result.
So the final stone here for Ross Whyte. Needs about a 6-foot run back to ensure that Joel Retornaz can't score more than one. McFadden on this right out of the hand. Can they hold it? This is really curling. Do they have any of it?
Oh, jams on the back.
Just jams on the back.
It's that whole end in control, playing to get the force, and one half miss at the end. And it looks like likely a 2 for Retornaz.
Yeah, very similar to the last 2 they got. They were in trouble for most of the end, but managed to get 2 on the board.
They just need to touch the 8-foot now for Retornaz for that second point. Get his team within 1. Should get in the slide path and nestle in.
No trouble there for Joel Retornaz, so never really looked like scoring 2 for most of the end, but a slight miss from Ross Whyte, and the 2 will go up. Whyte will have the hammer in 6.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on, every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
it's a gold line. It's a gold line. It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Well, in the break, that was the classic commentators turning to each other and going, geez, tough way to live if you're a team at the slam level. Ross Whyte basically making 7.5 shots out of 8. And quite frankly, Retornaz not making as many shots as Ross Whyte in that end, but 2 goes up on the board, and we've got a 5-4 game.
Yeah, good shot by Joel on his last to make them have to make something. And that's the key. I mean, you never know, even at the highest levels of the sport. It wasn't as if that was a gimme for Ross, certainly one he expected to make, but just keep battling and digging, fighting for that inch. And again, the difference between 5-3 and 5-4 is significant with 3 ends to play.
My stone's a bit short, just a wee bit more in the end of the game now.
Okay, I like the throw.
I'm just thinking, like, make sure I'm into the rings.
So a couple guards up for Joel Retornaz. We're not surprised to see the 2 center guards up here now, Tyler, where we maybe were a few ends ago, but now down 1 in the 6th end without hammer is absolutely the typical time you see the 2 center guards go up.
Yeah, no surprise at all from this start to the end, and so important that these first couple shots from Kyle end up in good position. Take that position away. We might finally have a blip from Ewan, as this is going to go behind the tee line. So I think we have to regrettably cross out the century mark for Ewan. But on the flip side, I think Mattia might still have that perfect game going. So,
yeah, Mattia still batting 100. Unfortunately, Ewan, yes, does lose the 100 and is about to donate $100 to the TG and JC College Fund for our unborn children. You know, maybe we'll go back. You and I can go back to college.
Oh boy, that sounds like a lot right now. It feels like you'd be like Rodney Dangerfield and back to school.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not joining the diving team either, though, I can tell you that. Very dated reference.
Yeah, I didn't understand it, but I did chuckle along as though I did.
Oh, it's an old movie with Rodney Dangerfield.
I sort of inferred what was exactly happening there. But
he goes back to college and joins the diving team, and he's probably in his 50s at the time.
Okay. So you and I still have a few more years before that happens to us.
I wish I could remember his name in that movie, and that's the stuff that I actually do remember. Like nothing important. It's just a mess of useless information.
Yeah, all the stuff I did learn.
Yeah.
It's all gone now. It's a nice shot there from Sebastiano, and Joel Retornaz rather, is now line one.
I do remember his dive that he did as his go-to, the triple Lindy.
Oh, and that's just unfortunate for McFadgen there. Runs by everything.
That rolls to the corner as well. A good setup for Retornaz with the center guard, top 4 foot, and those rocks behind the tee. Actually helping Retornaz.
So another guard up here for Sebastiano. And no mistake. So not going to try the runner here, trying to get this corner guard off and out of play. So Ross has multiple draw paths if he needs. I'm sure for Team Whyte, just scoring here in 6, even if it's only 1, will be preferred. And unfortunately, that doesn't kick off of that corner guard.
And the longer that Team Retornaz can drag this end out with the rocks in the exact position they're in right now, the better. As it stands, that corner guard for Whyte is actually helping Retornaz too, because it kind of alters the draw path on that side.
Yeah, no question. That's what I was saying. They were trying on the last one to kick off and open that draw path, and unfortunately with jamming, they've actually made it worse. So we'll see what they try to do here if Ross makes another concerted effort to kick this red one off of the draw path.
See if Robin can make the peel and open up that in-turn draw path for Ross. Actually just nuts on it, so it stays as kind of a center. Not a great result there. Oh, I think I'm going to stand up and stretch the back out a little bit there, John. It is early morning still. 2 hours earlier back in Minnesota.
Yep.
These guys got to stretch to play. We got to stretch to live.
Oh. You said it, brother.
Sta non è cagna. Buona questa. Una più. Una più, quasi due.
Center guard settling in. They wanted to get just past the red, not too much farther, so maybe a little deeper than they intended, but good spot. This is the best look that they've had at making the double peel yet, maybe even getting a bonus on shot rock in the top of the forefoot, so big shot here for Bryden. Really good.
Double made, very nice.
Yeah, that's so big to get rid of that second guard now. Still a good situation for Retornaz as they'll be guarding shot rock above the tee line with skips first. You take that 10 times out of 10, down by 1 without hammer at 6. With where the guards are on that side of the center line, probably can still get shot rock going around the outside of them if you had to play that side. Just with how much it finishes and only needing full 4. But it'd be interesting to see if Joel makes this guard perfectly and there's another peel made if they decide to tap, or if they decide to straight guard and make Ross draw, or if Ross even considers coming in on his first as opposed to peeling. This could be a little tight this time. Give him a go at the run.
This is definitely more weight than they wanted. This might even slide into the house here.
That'll make the decision pretty easy, I think, for Ross. I really wanted to see if the guard was made and they made the peel, if they elected to even play the freeze on the back red and come around for Retornaz's last. But now, yeah, this is a straightforward call to try to lose both of these yellows.
Yeah, Joel just hasn't quite had the touch on his draws here. And just a little heavy there. You have to think Ross will take advantage.
Great shot.
That's lovely from Ross, and almost gets that one on the rings. I think it's
really
just
close.
Out.
It's always tough to tell with the overheads, but that's very close to being a biter too.
Yeah, Duncan shook his head, so I think they think it's not in, and almost agrees.
Yeah, I don't know that it makes a huge difference.
I don't think it changes the call.
I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't draw around for shot rock anyways at this point. Looking at the rocks in the back and forefoot. A little smile there from Ewan.
Yeah.
Some gamesmanship.
Trying to change Mattia's mind. Oh, it's in. That's in 100%.
These guys know each other well enough they can joke around a little on that.
So Joel coming to the back here, but it does look like he's playing a hit weight. It's close to hack here.
Yeah, trying to play nose-nose. Just stay right on top of that stone. That's really well executed.
Very good.
Great shot.
So Ross will play for the blank here, I imagine.
Yeah, I think they're quite sure that rock is off.
We have our first final out here this morning. Mike McEwen with 3 in the 6th end. That solidifies his victory over James Crake. So Mike McEwen will move on to the B final to play the loser of Brad Jacobs and Matt Dunstone. James Craik will fall down to the C side of the event.
I think I figured out Rodney Dangerfield's name in that movie, too.
Okay.
Nobody cares, so I'm not
I
going to say
do.
it on the air.
Oh, okay.
We're busy. We got a hammer shot coming up.
That is true. The final stone of the sixth. Looking for a blank is Ross Whyte. Duncan McFadgen on it right out of the hand. And no mistake made for Ross Whyte. Now, will they put a biter stick on this, or will Amos agree with his initial call that it was out?
If it's anywhere near, I'm throwing the stick on it.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, they're going to put a stick on it. I mean, oh, they're going to measure it now. Amos was sure it was out when it might have been bad for their team, but I mean, he does have a bird's eye view almost, so he's probably got a better view of the rock being in than anybody else.
Yeah, and it's not like it's your home club where you're pretty sure on the circles.
Yeah,
We haven't seen any biter stick measurements yet. You see Coach Ryan Fry putting on the official's hat and bringing the biter stick out.
Now, where did Ryan get that biter stick from? That's the question.
Yeah, right.
Did he
Italian
pull out
one?
the extra long one from the back?
Oh, I think he wants the short one for this. And it is off, so they're correct. And they get the blank.
So we'll put some zeros up on the board. Ross Whyte will keep the hammer into end number 7, leading by 1.
When you've conquered another game, a long day, a job well done, and the final work call, we're your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mice, eat locally, enjoy casual.
Well, Tyler, 2 ends to play, a 1-point game. What is the mission for both of these teams here in the 7th?
Dealt pretty clear on both sides of the coin for Team Retornaz. You're going all-out steal at this point, and for Team Whyte, you're defending and you take a 2 if it's there to try to get to a 3-point lead. But the number 1 mission is just keeping Retornaz off the board, and a steal of 1 isn't a disastrous situation for Team Whyte. And for Retornaz, too, I mean, the numbers kind of play out that down 2 with as opposed to tied up without gives you a better chance with 5 rock free guard zone rule to win the game. But you still have to try to junk it up and see if you can maybe even find a steal or 2 to start out. So you see a second center at this point.
Yeah, especially with you and Kyle's rock slipping into the back 12.
The important thing to remember, too, if you're Team Whyte, is you feel like you probably could be up by 3 or 4 at this point.
Absolutely.
But if before the game you told them you'd be up by 1 playing 7 with the hammer, they're going to be very happy. So instead of thinking of it in terms of we probably could have been off the ice by this point, you think, hey, we're up 1 with, we're in a great spot. This is, we would have taken this no question. So
yeah, they're thinking, hey boys, we're getting Tyler and John to do the maximum number of ends we can.
Well, that's the biggest thing.
They're feeling positive about that.
That's number 1 priority.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a better throw there from you and Kyle right to the top button.
Good judge.
14-6. 14-6.
So our Sportsnet compadres filing in, getting things ready for their broadcast.
Yeah, Sportsnet going live, I believe, with the Carrie Anderson Anna Hasselborg game.
Old friend Cam walking by, best camera guy in the business.
And on our stream, which will be coming up at noon local time, that'll be 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. It'll be Isabella Rana against Yeonjung Kim.
Gotta go.
Cam in my headset, God knows how many times over the years. Fun working with all these guys jointly on this new adventure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the fun part about doing this stream. Not only is the curling fan getting to see every game, but they're also getting 2 feature games now once Sportsnet coverage comes on. If you live in Canada and have Sportsnet as part of your cable package, you'll get their feature game, and then you can have our feature game. So for the first time ever at a Slams, you're getting 2 games with player mics and audio commentary. 2 full games, I should say. Well, obviously, there's been around the rings coverage and stuff before, but yeah, it's an exciting time for the sport, that's for sure, especially if you're a sicko like you and me, Tyler, and you like to watch a bunch of curling. This is as good as it gets.
Yeah, for those of us that, for basically all sports, have multiple TVs going in their living room or man caves at all times, then this is the dream scenario. More curling coverage, more ability to watch the games, and growing the popularity of the sport through access to it, and make these players stars. You know, these are the best in the world, and raising their profile, showing people how great they are, and pumping their tires all season long. Very similar setup to the previous end now, with the 2 centers and a rock in the top of the forefoot. For Team Whyte, you really want to try to make this double peel earlier in the end this time to give you a better opportunity to avoid a steal or try to get a 2.
Yeah, it seems like Ross hasn't been too concerned with that so far, calling for the single peel both times out of Duncan, but I agree. I think we may see with Robbins Rocks that they chase the double a little more aggressively.
And these situations here too, John, with the 1-point lead and hammer are very interesting to watch how teams play the last few shots. If they have the choice between giving the opponent a point or taking one themselves, I think the majority of teams right now are giving the opponent the steal and taking hammer tied up, as opposed to being up 2 without hammer because of the ability to score 3 in the 5 rock zone rule. But it varies from team to team. You look at your own numbers and see where you're best, but the numbers probably would play out that the teams that don't have hammer probably would prefer their opponent get forced to 1, where you get that hammer down by 2 and a chance to have it in your hand to try to score 3 to win the game.
Oh, just misses the double peel, and that was a good chance at it, as Amos's rock had slipped a little deeper than the previous stones.
And that's really been the difference between Whyte being up 3 or 4 and only up 1, as we see, is just those little tiny things with the double peels or the runs that it's just papering by, and Retornaz just hanging around in this game, just can't quite get rid of them. And
pesky.
You see that the best of the best do that, so that you feel like you have them buried and just can't sweep the leg. Good shot again from Ozaner. That well thrown 1 guard just over the hog line.
Yeah, a little higher than his last one. A little tougher.
Yeah, lined up really well too. Again, at what point are you chasing that stone in the top of the 4s and ignoring the guards?
It looks like Ross is debating that right now.
I think it's time to hit that stone, personally. I don't think you can afford to peel anymore. And it looks like with hack, you could probably get to nose and hit the old field goal right between. Yeah, and you can go over the top as well.
Right now, that's an okay spot for us.
Sorry?
Right now, that's not that bad for us.
It's not great, though.
I know, to make it better around here, it's not.
I agree, Ross. It's not great.
You're just singling then.
Yeah, I think so.
You can have a half goal if you want.
I think I would probably come in and hit that stone now.
That definitely seemed to be Ross's inclination. The rest of the team, though, didn't seem to agree.
Yeah, and they're just playing single peel, too, because of the separation with those stones. And that's the importance of how high that rock was that Mozzaner threw. And if that's another 3 feet, they're probably taking on the double peel. Even 2 feet. But just over the hog, you know, we're talking about such small increments, but that's what these teams play to. That's the difference between making sure you have that center guard still there or giving them a chance to make the double peel.
So timeout called here for Joel Retornaz. Coach Ryan Fry sprinting out from behind the scoreboard. We don't see that too
land
often.
Speed record for a coach.
No question.
I don't know if Ryan knows that you get walking time, so he's not really getting more time with the team, right?
Probably trying to double.
But he's an athlete.
Absolutely.
You see old buddy Fry out there.
Here.
So you like the guard? I was thinking about hitting this one.
You're biting and missing the guard. You missed one, they missed one. It's just really hard. And as good as spot. If it peels, I'm good with going more for them, but I think if you ever go stuff, you might see that too. Like right now. I don't mind trying to stand still too.
Rolling here.
Slam on this, we make a really bad shot.
Force is not bad. Force is not.
Force is
Better than steel, maybe?
Oh, wait. Dove sta?
Vuoi rollare un po' anche? Rollare perché lo giocherà questo per sicuro.
Sì.
I don't like another guard here for Italy for the same reason I didn't like peeling the guard on the previous shot.
So we think on this side, nothing been played down here. That's mine's were down here.
And the other reason, too, John, for playing the hit on the last stone for Team Whyte is your opponent is perfectly fine with playing to a force. And, you know, if they can get the steal of 2, obviously it's ideal, but not likely. So now you're putting yourself in a situation where either the force or the steal are likely scenarios, and you're fine with either one of those things, which is why they're hitting this stone in the back. I think Ross kind of played into Joel's hands with peeling that high guard, and as you mentioned, it looked like Ross was inclined to hit the stone in the house. And his teammates were the ones that convinced him to peel the guard. So if you're thinking that it's either going to be a force or steal, if you peel that guard, then why not play the hit and play for the 2 or 3?
So Ross going to try and have a go at all 3 here now that Joel is lying 2 without hammer here. And I would think, Tyler, you got to get one of these in the house moving at least.
I mean, you kind of have to get all 3, because if you get 2 of them, then the force is on as long as you throw it in a good spot, because you're already sitting shot rocks. So, yeah, the only really good result here for Ross is getting all 3 stones.
That's easier said than done. We'll see if Ross is up to the task here. How about that?
That does stay in the house.
Does just, unfortunately, again, jam on their own.
And a force isn't a disaster or anything for Ross, but I mean that was probably the main objective, starting the end off for Team Retornaz. So now they'll be able to draw and make Ross decide, and we'll get to find out. Will they give Joel a point, or will they take one themselves and see which side they want to be on? What's your prediction?
For Whyte, I feel like the way that they're playing the end, they were just trying not to get themselves in a spot to give up a steal of 2, which makes me think that maybe they are going to give up 1. What do you think?
Well, the interesting thing is Joel is not drawing under the guard. He's throwing it open. So essentially that's saying, I'm going to make you decide, Because if you draw under the corner, there's no question they're hitting the open stone. That's an automatic. So throwing this on the side of the 4-foot open says, you decide. What do you want to do?
Well, let's see.
And they're thinking.
Does he think he has a blank here?
It's possible. Yeah, and that's... It's a little risky because of how thin it is. You know, the perfect make is very close to the worst miss.
Absolutely.
Playing the blank. So they're just playing 10-5, you heard. So they're playing to hit and stick. So they're going to take a point and go up 2.
I was wrong. First time for everything.
Yeah, and you have to assume that the percentages for them bear it out.
For sure.
Like they know exactly.
Something they would have known, definitely, yeah.
Teams in the top 5 in the world generally are considering these things before the game.
No question about it. So it will be an open hit for Ross Whyte.
And that's me defending you and your call, too.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Trying to take a 2-point lead into the 8th. And he will make no mistakes. So we'll see if Joel can put up a crooked number and end number 8. Don't go anywhere.
When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms, light as a feather.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
And is the choice of champions.
End B semifinal action between Ross Whyte and Joel Retornaz. And Tyler George, Joel Retornaz has been able to find a 2 when he's needed it all game. He's going to have to find at least a 2 here in the 8th, or it is game over.
And we did see that discussion from Team Whyte about what to do on that final shot, and they feel more comfortable with the 2-point lead. They've been playing from ahead the entire game, too. Maybe that factors in, but I think it really probably goes back to whatever they know about their percentages in these situations. You play this many games as an elite team. Those are things you have to take into consideration, even if it's a 5% difference for you in your results in these situations. There's enough sample size where you probably can figure out what puts your team in the best position to win. Obviously, you expect to win either way, but that's not the point. You want to give yourself the highest percentage chance based on what puts your team in their comfort zone, and they felt that the 2-point lead without was better for them than tied up with.
Yeah, we'll see if this bears that out. It was a good opening throw from Ewan Kyle, and I'd imagine he's drawing another one in the paint here.
I think we might be one make away from a hundo for Mattia on the opposite side.
Just you're correct.
Not writing anything down, scoring it, but just with, I don't remember him missing a shot in this game.
No.
Oh, this could be the ultimate commentator jinx, though.
It's a corner guard. I feel fairly safe.
That's why I say it'd be the ultimate.
Yeah, it would. You're right.
Should make it.
Yeah, no question.
Clean that stone, please, boys.
Yeah, they don't give you a free pass on a pick, unfortunately. So, nope.
The curling gods decide you missed the shot, you missed the shot. And right there, they're sweeping something off the ice. Didn't get under the stone, thankfully.
So there you
We're
go.
going to give him 100.
We're going to give it 100 for Mattia Giovanella.
Well
Great
played.
game.
Well
Very
played.
good game. Yeah, good game from both leads. Ewan with a couple missteps the last few ends, but for the most part, very well played by both. And looks like they're going to choke off one of the corner guards here.
Top 12. Okay, top 8 is great. Tight top 12. Okay, good to go then.
A wee bit of room. Top 12. It's not curled yet.
Line's great.
On this brush.
Line's great. No, it doesn't need crop. It doesn't need crop.
Line's
great.
good. Line's good. It's good.
My bro. Look short, my bro.
Taking the draw path away, throwing this in-turn draw. Obviously, they don't need to score, but that blocks the in-turn draw and doesn't pile stuff up too much in the center.
Is that a bit of a scoreboard call there, Tyler? Because I think, you know, some fans would be watching and thinking, well, you got 2 stones in the center. You're trying to prevent your opposition from scoring. Why wouldn't you throw a center guard? But that's just a we're up 2 call.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is all about preventing your opponent from 2, and that doesn't always mean throwing hits. With 5 rock free guard zone rule, you can't peel those guards yet. So where can you throw a stone that's going to help prevent your opponent from getting multiple points? And that path there, that draw path, is where they'd be going to. And there's not really a freeze to be shot. You're only going to be sitting 3rd at best playing that. So you may end up tapping that stone. You may freeze to the inside, but that was the whole point, is you're taking away another path for your opponent to try to get 2 or 3.
Quindi, di 3. 9. 8, 9.
Ilo di altezza le arriva a 4, 5.
Con 15 Dege.
14 me, 14 3.
It looks like they're just playing the straight freeze to that stone that Duncan just threw. Sebastiano looking for top 12 weight. Actually going around it now. My Italian wasn't quite good enough to.
Yeah, that might have been the call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way they swept it, it didn't look like it was ever panicking or calling that it was deep. They were just cleaning straight out. So.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
Just gonna have to learn more Italian, I guess.
I got a lot of languages to learn for a short period of time.
That I'm actually gonna do that.
Well, I mean, you know, we got a few Swiss teams out here. They speak 3 languages.
Yeah.
Well, 4 counting English. So we're in trouble here.
Ideally, if we pick up a little bit of language from the other teams, then we can piece it together for what the Swiss are saying.
Yeah, good point. So peel here for Duncan McFadgen, and they would love to kind of thin this and get that yellow in the house. Sounds like they're close. No, that'll just roll over the top. Oh,
there's your bonus.
Okay. That's a little bit nasty.
That was always in play, at least. I mean, wasn't plan A, but got something pretty good out of it. It's not great, though, because that rock is behind the tee line under the corner. So it was a little lucky, but not a fantastic result, as you're going to see the freeze now immediately played by Team Retornaz. Retornaz at 3 minutes 7 seconds remaining. Team Whyte at 2:33, and for those that don't know, this is thinking time, so the clocks are not running while the stones are moving down the sheet. Once you clear the back line, sliding out of the hack, your clock stops.
Nice freeze there from Sebastiano.
And that's why that shot wasn't great where it ended up, because now they're forced to peel the corner because the freeze is made to sit 3rd. So 2 absolutely in the picture now for the tie. The question is, can they figure out a way to get 3 without any guards in play?
We'll see what they decide here. Both teams do still have a timeout as well.
This may be the time you want to use that timeout, because you're already talking for a while. Get down under 3 minutes. And they do just that. These guys have made us look a lot better than the other teams this week.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm
going to say it's because they're smarter than everybody.
I think that's what it is for sure.
Well, the alternative isn't good for either of us. So.
So the winner of this game will move on to face the winner of Kevin Cooey and Brad Gujou, and that is looking increasingly likely like it will be Kevin Cooey. They are up 2 with Hammer, playing the 8.
Yeah, Kevin got 3 in the first and just held that lead throughout. Brad had a delicate shot in that first end that just barely touched a guard. Probably was at least a 2-point swing.
Non è bruttino questo. Questo non è bruttino, però qua, Una la resta sempre, sbaglia qualcosa.
Yannick Schwaller looking like he's a shot or 2 away from finishing things off against Brunner. 5-2 lead coming home without Hammer, but set up to probably finish that game off.
Da cavarle quelle lì tutte e due o da... No, non serve. No, da cavarne una però. Quindi meno in 10. Unless they roll here, then he has to hit it from this side, and then maybe we...
John, if you're Joel here, you know that at some point you need to move both of those red stones.
The deuce is alive.
Trying to figure out if now is the time to do that, or if you're refreezing on that other yellow.
Looks like they are going to hit them. I mean, it is Whyte lying 2 here. At some point, you do have to deal with those.
Yeah, this is probably a nose-nose. Only other option would be to roll towards your own yellow in front of it, but you roll a little too far and you may see a smash and lose both. So I would guess they're playing just to nose here and stay in front of the red that they're hitting. Yeah, they did roll and not to a good spot.
No, that's unfortunate there for Amos.
Yeah,
I do think they were trying to roll, it seemed, Tyler, but certainly not that far.
Yeah, it's such a touchy shot playing that. I mean, obviously, if you're going to get 3, you're going to have to make something really good, but yeah, that's the worst spot they could roll to on the entire sheet. If it rolled out, it might not have been quite as bad.
Yeah. Yeah, this sets up a pretty academic double here for Robin Bryden.
And this is why we thought they'd maybe play nose-nose, because that was in the cards, too.
Yeah, certainly will now become difficult for Retornaz to score 2, as Whyte has the house split and lying 2 without Hammer here in the 8th.
Yeah, you probably have to freeze to the number 1 now. Hope that you get some kind of result on the last that gives you a shot for 2, but you still got 3 rocks to go. So for Amos, yeah, you want this probably 5-6, 7/8. Math on the high the high side here. High side again, the broom side. There's a final on sheet B now. Schwaller gets the victory. 5-2 and an X over Brunner.
This has to be there. Giovanella and Armand trying to get it there. Can't end up short. Has to be there. Really good weight for Amos, but it over curls. And so Ross Whyte still shot.
That crossing it maybe gives you a chance to get both the yellows too. But not sure that that's even necessary really with where that red is.
Yeah, tough to picture Retornaz turning this into a 2 without getting a miss.
I mean, the only disaster result here, if you make contact with the yellow on the inside, is somehow rolling over, catching the back of your own, pushing it over the top so yellows count and the shooter goes out. Very unlikely. So I think they are having a go at maybe getting rid of both yellows. Just don't want to set up a situation where they could bump to a pocket.
So you got to get one yellow going here. Can you get both? Wow, what a shot from Ross Whyte.
Yeah, I'm not positive that that's the ideal result just because of that right there. Now, you know, it looked cool.
It's what they were trying anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, Joel can now tap to a pocket. It's not going to be a great setup for him, but it at least gives him a chance.
I mean, you know, Tyler, looking cool is pretty much the most important thing. So shout out to Ross Whyte for that.
Yeah, and there should be enough space that they can clear it fairly easily too. But
yeah, you're right. It definitely
was it a better situation
or
not? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe the best. I'd rather be Ross, regardless.
No question about that. Yeah, this is a shot that demands perfection, and even if you get that, you're still probably losing the game. But Joel Retornaz will make his best effort at it here.
So yeah, wants to tap this maybe 3/4 on the inside of the stone. This is really curling. Joel's already up out of his crouch.
Yeah, he just hasn't really had that draw weight, and that one, not a weight problem, but a curl problem. That's just going to go right through the house, and that's the game. So a little bit anticlimactic, but it was a very well-played game for Ross Whyte. They will move on to the B final. Joel Retornaz will drop down to the C. We'll be back in about 1 hour and 10 minutes time at noon local time. Isabella Rana versus Yunjung Kim. You won't want to miss it. For Tyler George and everyone here at Home Team, I'm John Cullen. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.